Good morning again, Year 10. So here is the Learning Aim B video for your Btec in Performing Arts work. And we're going to be talking about what you need to include, the detail that you can go to, and obviously the assessment criteria that you are getting graded on as well. So, Learning Aim B is all about you demonstrating your understanding of the process of how, for this example, epic theatre is created, using Blood Brothers as an example of a performance. So this is all the learning we have done in lesson, through your workshops and through your exploration of interviews, etc., etc. And this is what the specification says. So you are being required to explore how the interrelationship, so that's just basically how each of the different elements link, the interrelationships between constituent features of existing performance material. So it's asking you to kind of analyse, evaluate how the key features enable a performance to achieve the intentions of the style. So we know for epic theatre, the intentions are to make the audience think. Oh, sorry, there's the cat. Okay, the intentions are to make the audience think and to think about the sort of message that is being portrayed and where they sit sort of within society, where their place is within that. So that is what we are focusing on for epic theatre, how everything comes together to create an epic piece of theatre. So we have done workshops, we've done the exploration of actors and directors, and you're now going to kind of bring that all together for your analysis. So we are looking for you to reflect on your workshops, okay? So for your workshop reflection, it's all about you understanding the process of how work is created, and you have had some note pages on that that we created and worked on in lesson, your reflections at the end of each workshop. So you are being asked what the focus is for each workshop. So for example, we did our first workshop on social class. That was the focus. The what, how and why is basically, what did you do? Did you do any warm-ups? Did you do any introduction activities? Did you create a scene? Did you do hot seating, for example? So looking at specific activities you actually did. How did you do it? So explain the process, what skills were required, what did you actually do within your team, and then why. So why was that process important? Why was that skill important? Why did you choose what you did? In terms of contributions, you're being asked to explain what contributions you made. You can also reflect on the contributions of others. So you can point out a valuable contribution that somebody else in your group made, but do always analyse and explain why that contribution was valuable, and relate it back to Blood Brothers or epic theatre. Impact, in terms of what impact did your decisions have, what did they allow you to achieve, what was particularly effective, and then learning, what did you learn about epic theatre, what did you learn about Blood Brothers, what did you learn about the process of creating epic theatre. If you were looking at narration, was it difficult to think about what you would say in your narration? If you used multi-rolling, was it difficult to transition your voice and movement so each character is distinct? And then style is always linking it back to the style of epic theatre, which you've probably already referenced, but it's just to kind of summarise, to demonstrate your understanding, of what is required for the style. So again, it might be performance skills, it might be research skills, it might be collaborative skills. And just in case you're wondering where the dog is, here she is having a little sunbathe. She looks like she's asleep, but she's not. She's just loving life right now. So another stage of what you're required to do is a bit of research into the process. You've probably covered a lot of this in your research for Learning Aim A, so do not duplicate anything, not necessary at all. But this page to stage researching the process is really just about giving an overview, a sort of introduction to Learning Aim B, as it were. So we have watched interviews with Willie Russell. He has spoken us through what he does, how he does it, and why. You have made notes on that. We have watched the performance of Blood Brothers, where you created your mind map. So use your mind maps. If you want to include them in your assessment, you can. It will only increase your demonstration of what you understand. You may well want to write them up in neat or add detail to them. and talk about the impact that the process of epic theatre has in terms of, so in rehearsals, if you were going to be talking about using multi-rolling as a rehearsal technique, then you would talk about the impact that that has on epic theatre for when it comes to playing different roles, using narration, etc. And then give the context. So we know that epic theatre is out there to give a social message. You could look into the practitioner Bertolt Brecht. I'll just write his name for you. Right, Bertolt Brecht. Bertolt Brecht. So you could talk about him in terms of the influence of epic theatre. It's not the end of the world if you don't reference him, but that can extend the context and the detail that you can go into in terms of how he kind of pioneered epic theatre and what influence that potentially had on Willie Russell. So as you begin to bring your learning aim B to a close, it's just to kind of recap on the success criteria. I'm only including level 2 at the moment because that's where you should all be aiming. On the left-hand side, B.2 P3 and B.2 P4 are obviously the pass. The next box along M2 is the merit. The next box along D2 is obviously the distinction. So you can see here that you are being asked to show your understanding of how the process is. So the process is like the rehearsals. So getting from page to stage, hence why your sort of introduction to learning aim B is research, process, page to stage. Okay? And with your page to stage, it's thinking about, like I say, the rehearsal process, how they get from an idea on a piece of paper to a final, finished, polished performance for a paying audience. So it's looking at that rehearsal process. What do they do in the rehearsal process? So think back everything that we've considered from the research, the context, the intentions of the play. Why is the playwright writing this play? There's always going to be a reason behind it. There's a reason behind every single movement and piece of dialogue that they include. Think about the process, so of the research, of the context, the importance of the time period, and the importance of the message that they are getting across, how they rehearse it, how they cast their actors, and how they understand what skills are required from their actors in order to do so. Which, like I say, you've probably mentioned in learning aim B, so don't repeat anything, but it is an opportunity here to make sure you include all of that detail. Skills and approaches used by practitioners, like I said, in terms of how they rehearse, how they bring the piece to life, with considered examples, with considered reference, to examples. So that is Blood Brothers. The examples of repertoire are performances of professional pieces. And the final bit in that distinction criteria, how they contribute effectively to the performance work. So it's really just you summing up how effective that performance is in achieving the intentions of epic theatre. What do they do throughout the rehearsal of epic theatre? What do they do throughout the performance of epic theatre? And how effective is it? Okay? So, starting to bring it to a close, the final point is really your summary of your exploration. So your exploration is your research, your watching videos, your mind maps, your workshops that you've written up, and you're going to bring it together to kind of summarise what you have learned. So consider the style and its purpose. So what have you learned about epic theatre, and what have you learned in terms of what the purpose is of the performance style? Is there anything that you had found particularly difficult to do or to understand? What barriers did you come across throughout your workshops? What skills were required from you when exploring epic theatre? And we've already spoke about vocal and movement, for example, with the multi-rolling. It might be having purpose in your dialogue for the narration. It might be focus if you're having to hold still images or to react in a certain way if you're using direct address to the audience, for example. And then the impact on the audience. So what difference do you think epic theatre makes to the audience in comparison to a non-epic piece of theatre? And then how effective is Blood Brothers? So bringing it back to the performance we have watched as the example to summarise Blood Brothers as a piece of epic theatre.